Hello my loves, I'm Miss MonMon. Welcome to my channel. Today I am really under the weather. I am not feeling great, so I'm just gonna go no makeup because as much as I am a pinup, I am also a human and I just don't feel good today, so great. I am really excited about today's project but also really stressed. This weekend is the annual Perth Pinup Prom. And this is the first time it's back since the whole world shut down. Do I have a closet full of dresses that I can actually wear? Yeah. Do I have time to sew a prom dress in a week? No. Am I still going to do it? Yeah. I have secretly always wanted to sew my own prom dress, and even though I am way too old to be going to an actual prom, I came across some fabric that I couldn't resist, and this entire idea just came together. So today we will be sewing a 1950s style cupcake prom dress. To bring my prom dress to life, I am not going to draft my own pattern. I am going to use this pattern. This is the Liz dress from Charm Patterns by Gertie. And I know I have sewn this dress before on this channel in the Easter dress that I made for last year, but this is honestly the best pattern for this dress. So what we are going to do is split up the ruffles by adding them onto the skirt but also adding them onto the shelf bust, and then the rest of the dress will just be a matching fabric. Let's have a look at fabric. I'm going to start with the most important fabric, which of course is the tulle fabric. I love it so much. It's so pretty. When I saw this on Etsy, it was on sale from a seller that I have purchased from before, so I knew they were really reputable. So this will be on the skirt and along the shelf bust. I am still making this up as I go along, so I don't know how I'm going to do that. This is all going to be a process. So to match this fabric was a journey. I went to Homecraft Textiles, which is one of my favorite fabric stores, to go for plain coloured cotton. And I found this shade of green, which is very similar. And when layered, it'll be fine. But it just wasn't right when it was on its own. The contrast, especially because the bodice will still have this fabric on its own, I thought it just stood out a little bit too much and it wasn't what I wanted. So this is going to be now used for another project. So this was a no. Plan B was a trip to the fabric store last week. No, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And luckily I managed to find this. This is a really lovely soft satin. It was just the perfect color match, and it is a stunning sage green soft satin. I think the color is absolutely gorgeous. I kind of love that little sheen, and I think layered it'll sit underneath that really well and just add an extra element of color depth. So this is going to be our underskirt, our bodice as well, and then we are going to add the tulle on. We are also going to try and bone this bodice, which is going to take a little bit of time, and I also know I am probably in for quite a bit of hand sewing when it comes to the ruffle. Let's sew a prom dress. I was awake all of last week, so I knew that I would be pretty stressed in the few days I had between coming home and the prom. So before I left for my week away, I cut out all my fabric, which means it's kind of a good thing because I cut out a massive circle skirt and I have hung it so it falls on the bias, which means I don't have to now hang this for 24 hours. I also have a lot of bodice pieces. There is so much fabric in this dress. It is mildly ridiculous. And remember that green cotton fabric that I showed you like 2 minutes ago? I am using that as a lining because I think it'll just add a little bit more stability, especially if I'm going to add boning, because I don't want to stress out the satin or cause warping. Okay, the first thing I think I'm going to sew is actually the skirt. I'm going to start by sewing in the seams, making it one lovely circle, I guess. And then what we're going to do is figure out how to attach the ruffles. Let's start with that. Yep, let's go. So my circle skirt has been sewn together. Still haven't hemmed her, but I've popped her onto my dress form with 2 petticoats underneath. So I have this fluffy one from Sarsaparilla, which I love. And then I have this crinoline one, which I've had for 1,000 years. There's no label. I don't remember where it came from, but it's appeared in my house. And I've had it for years and I've worn it a million times. She's great. So this is the kind of cute level of poof that I am after. I don't want it too much because I know I can add another petticoat, but with the extra floof, there is enough floof. Let's speak more of this floof. So this to me is the right way up as all the ruffles are going down. So I have 2 options. I can just sew this straight to the top. But what I think I might do is I might gather it. I don't know how much fabric I need. So I'm going to play around for a while. I'm hoping that I can gather this tulle on my machine because I really don't have the time to hand gather this. But if that's what I need to do, then it's what I need to do. Let's keep going, but I think that looks... I mean, you can see the vision. Should have gone to Specsavers. So I have now gathered my tulle and pinned it to my skirt layer. And I'm going to sew it. I know there is more tulle than I need, and there's just a lot of fabric here to the point where I can't find where the front of my skirt is. But I'm going to sew that in and we're going to see how it goes. Alrighty, so we have our skirt done. The only thing I need to do is sew up the tulle seam at the back, but I'm going to wait until I got my bodice assembled before I get that done. And I guess we can start slowly moving on to the bodice. The bodice has 51 separate pieces. 51! That's a lot of bodice. And I am starting to really not feel the greatest, so I'm going to do probably a little bit more and then I'm going to call it a day. So with the bodice of this pattern, we have the outer fabric, which will be the satin. The satin has to be underlined, which means I need to sew another fabric underneath it, which is where the cotton comes in. And then I've got the lining, which will be more cotton. So she will be pretty well structured. So I'm going to underline everything. This will be my last check-in for the day, and I want to get those done, and I will see what we get on tomorrow, Wednesday. Oh gosh, so soon. Hello everybody, welcome to day 2 of sewing my vintage cupcake prom dress. At the moment she's giving toilet dolly, and I'm hoping that once she's a bit more put together, she will give less toilet dolly. So last night before I called it quits, I made the bottom of the bodice. So this is going to sit about there. And then we've got the sleeves to put in. Actually, that looks pretty good. I like that. That looks really nice together. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit more calm about the whole thing. The strap is done and I have pinned her to the bodice there. I made sure to not put an extra kink there, and it is ready to be sewn down. So I'm going to keep working on the bodice. So I have a fair amount of fiddling to do with the cups and things like that, because this is quite a fiddly pattern. But I have done it before, so I know I can do it. I think that sewing the ruffles on to the bust cups will be done by hand. I am in the process of creating the cups. Once they're together, I will then sew all the fluff onto it, and then I think I'll sew it together. So what I'm going to start with now is the lining, get all that sorted, and then we'll work on the cups, and then we will check in and talk about the shoulder straps. But I think I can get most of her finished today, as I still have a little bit of time to tinker with her, which is good. She's coming along pretty well. So we've got a nice big fresh cup of tea. Oh, let's keep sewing this prom dress. Oh, sustenance. So I have my lining for the cups done, and I was about to join these two together when I realized I have sewn these sections onto the wrong top lining. So I'm going to have to unpick here on both and then swap them. Gonna be a bit tricky because I've already trimmed it, but yeah. All right, so I'm just gonna get this done and then I will sew these together the correct way, a bit more like that. And then it is time to add ruffles. Many ruffles. Let's go. Right, so we have our bodice cups done. So this one's obviously the lining, and then we have the outer. So with the outer, I obviously want to attach some ruffles. What I've done is I've gone ahead and unpicked the 2 rows of sequins just because I don't need it getting caught in my machine. And what I'm going to do now is pin this just so the bottom, like the top frill, is close to the seam allowance, because I don't want it up too high, but we'll go. And then once that is pinned all the way across, I am going to then attach my lining, because once that's attached, I can flip it over and then do all the hand sewing that I need to attach my ruffles on top. I think this is the best way to do it, and there will be a fair amount of hand sewing. After that is done, if I have any energy, I am going to attach some boning to the lining of the bodice. If not, I will try to do it tomorrow. I am just really conscious of time, but I'm still not feeling the greatest, so I'm trying to give my body what it needs. But yeah, let's get these ruffles on. After pinning all the ruffles on to the bust cups, I have just sort of sat her on the dress mannequin so I can get a visual. I mean, she's not bad, but I'm wondering whether I put too many ruffles and maybe it's a bit too much. I can't really go back now because it'll be an absolute pain to unpick everything and then spread it out. So I'm kind of just stuck with this. She might need a little bit of shaping, but I can do that with some pin tucking. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and put some boning into the lining. And then tomorrow we will put her all together. So at the back of the instructions, they showed me how to put the boning in. The only one I'm not doing is a diagonal, just because I don't trust myself to do everything correct, but maybe I should. I don't know. But we've got some boning channels, which I have pinned on. I'm going to go ahead and sew them, and then we can just get our boning cut. So let's get going. Is it all going horribly wrong? Should I have worn something from my closet? Did I sew the strap on too high? No, I don't think I did. Oh, I probably did. I think I sewed the strap too high, and I'm worried it's going to get caught in the lining, and there's nothing I can do. Like it's in there. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. So this is my center back panel, and I've realized a mistake I've made. Remember how I brought the shoulders in by an extra ½ inch? Unfortunately, that means this back strap doesn't sit where it needs to be. So this corner should line up with this corner, but because I've taken it in, she's not sitting. So what I think I might do is I think I might sew the back seam along here when it gets to it. I feel like my brain is made out of cotton wool that I'm making such silly mistakes at the moment. I'm also thinking, at the moment I'm just feeling a little bit defeated just because I think the ruffles were a bit tricky for me, and I have done this pattern before and I've loved the outcome. I don't know why it's not working for me now. The satin is becoming very slippery. It's creating puckers and all sorts of things. I might go have some dinner and then I'll be back onto this. Yep, quick sushi break and then we're going to sew this. All right, so we've got a problem. She doesn't fit. And she's really horrible. It's all gone horribly wrong. Right, so I have sewn the lining on and I thought I'd try her on. We have one sleeve that my arm fits through. Fine, she would sit up there. And then this one is tiny and my arm doesn't, nope, so that's a no. And then when I pull her around the back, the sleeves still don't stay up, but look at all those puckers. Also, I'm not sold. I mean, look, I don't know what to do. She will zip, and I know this size fits me because I've sewn it before, twice. I don't know what to do. I obviously need to start the bodice again I think we might just go, sorry, can't see. I think we might just go the plain satin top. And then what I'm thinking is, if all goes well, I can add some ruffle on later as long as I get the top fitted. But right now, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. Oh, let's cut out another bodice. Why don't I just wear a dress from the cupboard? Why? Why don't I just pull a dress out of the cupboard and wear that? No, I want to sew my own. I want a cupcake dress. It is 2 a.m. I am so done. It has been a day. So last night when I realized that the original bodice with all the ruffles didn't fit, didn't work, it kind of gave me Austin Powers hairy chest vibes. I knew that I would have to be redoing her. So all of today, in between actual work, I made a new bodice. It wasn't the easiest process. Honestly, I almost gave up on her twice. Had to call in a few friends for support because I was ready to absolutely give up. This was probably the toughest dress I've ever made, and I can't figure out 100% why. The tulle being so fluffy and all the ruffles going everywhere definitely caused problems. I am happy with sort of where it is now. She is absolutely not perfect, but I am also not a professional seamstress. I am a home sewer who taught herself off YouTube, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with how she turned out. The perfectionist in me will spot the flaws, but I redid the entire bodice from scratch. I had a couple of issues here and there with making sure everything lined up perfectly. I added in the ruffles onto the top edge of the bodice because I wanted to carry the ruffles through, and everyone agreed that there should be some ruffle element in the bodice. I wanted to change the entire bodice at one time and go a strapless because I was kind of regretting my choice of pattern. Once I was done with the bodice and I was happy with her, I pinned her onto my skirt and sewed all that together. And then I realized that you could really see the gathering stitch through the tulle, and I just couldn't let her leave the house like that. I at first started unpicking all the visible seams and then realized after 10 minutes I had not even done half a centimeter, so I just unpicked a huge section off the skirt and reattached it to the bodice, which fixed the problem. Don't know why I didn't think of this first. The only thing I had to do after that was to add the zip, so I added an invisible zip to the best of my ability. And even though somehow my bodice at the back didn't line up, I'm at the point where I'm just so done. She will be fine. I'm hoping the venue for the prom is very dark and nobody will say anything, or at least just be polite and not say anything. But right now, I think it's time to go to bed, and then let's get ready for the prom. I am all dressed up and ready to go to the prom. I'll be leaving in about half an hour. This project was so much more challenging than I really thought. In my mind, I just thought because I'd made this pattern many times before, it would just work. And for some reason, just the stars weren't aligning. I don't 100% know why this was the challenge it was, but I still like the dress that I produce. I kind of wish that I could go back and change my pattern. I'm now thinking I want something maybe strapless because it just doesn't feel like the vibe I wanted it to have. And I'm sure someone out there loves it, but sometimes when I have a vision, if it's not executed the way I think it should be, it just sort of fell a bit flat. She is a very pretty dress. I feel really cute in it, but there are certainly many things that I learnt. I wish I had time to put boning in, but with the hiccup we had with the first bodice throwing me a day and a half behind, I just didn't have the time to put it in. So there are a few wrinkles and ripples along the chest, and I do wish that I had time to properly fix the shoulders and bring them in without everything else sort of getting all wonky. And looking back now, I know what I did wrong, so I will keep that in mind for the next time I do this pattern. Sewing a 1950s prom dress in my head was a lot easier than the actual process. I do love what I produced. I mean, I definitely like it. I'm not sure if I love it, but this has certainly been a learning curve with using materials that I'm not normally used to, such as satins and tulles, and I'm really glad that I got to challenge myself. I am hopefully at this point sharing a couple of clips from the prom itself. I really hope it's a lovely night. I am just very excited to go out and see some friends and have a few dances. That's really all I want to do tonight. Thank you so much for sticking by me on this epic sewing adventure. I am so glad I actually had you guys with me and I was able to stop and process my thoughts. I enjoyed the process, even though I will definitely be sewing something for fun for my next project before I tackle something more difficult and challenging. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really hope you enjoyed this vintage sewing adventure. If you are not already but you'd like to, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe to my channel or find me on any of my social medias. I also have this entire project blogged, which you can also find a link to in the description box below. So please go and check that out if you would like any photos or close-up details of the steps as I went along. I will hopefully be back next week with a brand new video, but until then, be kind, be true, be you, and have a beautiful week. I'm going to prom. Bye! My floor is going to be covered with sequins forever. Also, that was a random blue-red one. What is this? What are you doing, mate?